SOPs as prescribed by the Ministry of Health. The board also made adequate provisions for marking centers to observe the SOPs. At the peak of the second wave of the pandemic, the board had to drastically cut down on the numbers of contracted staff and confine those retained at the marking centers. This made the final stages of processing the examinations, or rather the results, take longer than was originally planned. The board is very grateful to you, Honorable Minister, and the National COVID-19 Task Force for supporting us to complete this task. When His Excellency the President ordered for the lockdown, as the COVID-19 situation worsened, the board still had over 2,000 examiners and other contracted persons at 8 marking centers. The special consideration given to the board allowed us to complete the marking exercise, and by God's grace, we are here today to release the results. The number of candidates registered for the UACE examination also dropped, as was seen at UCE. Candidature decreased by slightly over 6,000 candidates. This translates into 5.8%. Proportionally, the drop in the candidature affected the males by 6%, slightly worse than the females at 5.6%. The study conducted by UNEB to investigate the causes of this significant drop in the overall candidature revealed the same reasons as for UCE, namely private schools that failed to reopen, and the students also failed to find alternative UACE centers. 2, the pandemic affected the livelihoods of many parents who then failed to get school fees for their children. 4, students taking on menial jobs during the period of school closure and then losing interest in studying. And lastly, cases of pregnancies and early marriage of the female students. These findings are similar to the ones in the UNEB NAPE report on the effects of COVID-19 on the teaching and learning at primary and secondary education levels in Uganda. A significant number of candidates, nearly 6%, who registered for the examination did not report to take the examination. Honorable Minister, as you have already directed, UNEB will collaborate with the Ministry of Education and Sports to try and establish the causes of this absenteeism at all levels. In order to limit movements in and out of marking centers as one measure to control COVID-19 infection, the board fully implemented the system of wireless linkages between the marking centers and the data center. Processed data from the centers was therefore transmitted electronically. This measure was also in accordance with the body's objective of leveraging ICT services to support improvement in assessment and certification. Honorable Minister, despite the very serious impact of the pandemic resulting into, among others, extended periods of school closure, I'm glad to report that performance of candidates has shown overall improvement compared to those of 2019. We have seen this in both PLE and UCE. The details of this will be given in the release statement. Honourable Minister, I recall that in your speech during the release of UCE, you said that God was doing many good things to us if only we cared to look hard enough. How else would it be possible that in a very bad year like this, when the country, and indeed the world, is covered in the gloom of the pandemic, is when our learners defy the odds and actually do better in the examination than in a normal year? We continue to observe, as we have done in the last years, the smaller number of candidates, especially girls, registering for sciences at this level. The board is preparing to work with the ministry on a study to establish the causes as per your directive. Honourable Minister, when schools reopen, UNEB will embark on the activity of registering candidates for the 2021 examinations. I would like to inform the nation that registration fees will remain the same as for 2020. That is, Uganda shillings 34,000 for PLE, 164,000 for UCE, and 186,000 for UACE. A circular that will confirm these fees will be sent to all examination centers, to the Chief Administrative Officer, as well as the district education officials. I wish to inform all stakeholders that Section 33(1) of the UNEB Act 2021 now makes it a criminal offense for anyone to charge unauthorized fees. It is also an offense under Section 32(1) to embezzle or misappropriate money collected from the students as examination fees. The penalties are quite severe, up to 10 years imprisonment. Heads of examination centers and any other schools that will have candidates should heed this warning. Allow me, Honourable Minister, to convey to you the gratitude that the board expressed at its most recent meeting, the 63rd meeting, held on the 16th August 2021, for your continued support and that of your ministry, which enables UNEB to fulfill its mandate. Permit me also, Honourable Minister, to inform you of the body's concern that the NAPE program in UNEB, whose findings have over the years informed the ministry's policy decisions, has for the last 3 years remained an unfunded priority. In addition, the board also noted that in order for government to mobilize resources to confront the COVID-19 pandemic, budgets of most votes have been cut. UNEB suffered a 41% budget cut, which translates to over 55 billion shillings. That's quite a big cut. The activities affected by this cut are those that relate directly to preparation and conduct of the examinations. The board's prayer is that the budget cut in respect of UNEB activities be reviewed. I would like at this juncture to thank my colleagues on the board, some of them are in this audience, for their cooperation in providing the necessary policy guidance throughout the examination cycle. And in a special way, I thank the Executive Director and the staff of the Secretariat for the hard work that ensured that the 2020 cycle of examinations is successfully completed, even when the conditions have been very difficult. I congratulate the candidates who have performed well and wish them well in their future progress. I now ask the Executive Director to present the release statement that gives details of what I have just highlighted. Thereafter, it will be my singular honor to present to you, Honorable Minister, the 2020 UACE results for official release to the public. Thank you for your attention.
The First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, Ministers of State for Education, the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, the Chairperson, Uganda National Examinations Board, and members of the board here present, senior staff of the Ministry of Education and Sports and of Uganda National Examinations Board, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Minister, I join the chairperson to say that we are honored and privileged to present to you the results of the 2020 Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education examination, which we conducted during that phase period that the chair mentioned, under the theme Integrity and Security in the Management of Examinations. The health and safety of our learners is a joint responsibility. Honorable Minister, 98,392 candidates registered for this examination from 1,952 centers, compared to 104,476 candidates who sat the 2019 exam from 2,094 examination centers. As the chairperson has already observed, this is a decrease of 6,084 candidates, negative of 5.8. The candidates who appeared for the examination were 97,490, and this compares to 103,429 in 2019. This is a decrease, of 5,989 candidates. The percentage is about the same. The number of candidates that registered under the Universal Education Program of UPOLET program was 17,647. That is representing 17.9% of total candidature, compared to 19,361 in 2019, which number constituted 18.5% of total candidature. The decrease of candidature at this level has been much more than at the UCE Center. Honorable Minister, 41,190 of those that registered were females, compared to 43,625 in 2019. Out of the total candidates that registered, the females made up 41.9% who took the examination. Honorable Minister, you will note that at PLE and UCE, the numbers of candidates between the males and the females are at par, more or less. At this level, the female candidature is still much, much lower than that of the males. Table 1, which is given there, shows the statistics of the numbers of candidates who have been registering and those who have been sitting for the last 5 years, that is 2016 to 2020. You can see that from the table, the numbers of candidates registering has been fluctuating over the years. However, we do note that the rate of absenteeism at this examination has remained about the same, but it has been reducing over the last 5 years. In other words, more and more of the candidates who register to take this examination stay on in school and actually sit for the exams. Mama, Table 2 is a summary of a special group of candidates. Those candidates, those are our children who have special needs. Either they are disabled or they are disadvantaged in one way or the other. We've given the numbers that registered, both males and females, and the category showing the kind of disabilities that they have. The blind, the low vision, the deaf, those with severe physical impairments, the dyslexic candidates, and other categories. And we've also shown the kind of consideration that the board has been making for them. In other words, the blind make sure they have the examinations printed in Braille, and they are also enabled to write their examinations using Braille. The low vision, we give them papers with large prints that they can read more easily. And those that are deaf, we make sure that they are provided with sign language interpreters and the other kinds of support for the others. This year, we have a total of 208 compared to 205 the previous year, which is more or less the same. Mama, allow me to comment on the performance of the candidates in this examination. The performance we have compared in table number 3 in terms of the number of candidates passing at the different principal pass levels. You will see in the first column we have the pass levels, those that are passing all their principal subjects, those that are passing 2 of their principal subjects, and those that are passed 1 of their principal subject with a principal pass, and those who are getting at least a subsidiary pass in a principal subject, which entitles them to a Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education award. The numbers are shown in column 2, and the percentage at each of the levels is shown in column 3, and the cumulative number of candidates who are passing at the various levels is shown. And Mama, we are comparing this performance with that of 2019. An analysis of the overall candidates' performance in the examination shows that a very high percentage of our candidates, 99.2, qualified for the award of the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education certificate, more than the 98.6 in the previous year, 2019. on that basis alone, we can conclude that there is overall better performance than what we saw in 2019. Mama, at the minimum two principal level required by university admission, 68,013 candidates, or 69.8%, will qualify this year, which is more than 2019, where we had more candidates. It's more by 2,290. In the case where one principal and two subsidiary passes are considered for admission to other tertiary institutions, 89.3% of the candidates who sat in this year, 2020, will qualify. Mama, we also like to highlight performance of our disadvantaged candidates. So we pick the best candidate in the 4 categories which are most disadvantaged. The best blind candidate is Elijah Daniel from Iganga Senior Secondary School, who scored a perfect AAA in history, Christian religious education, and literature in English respectively, and obtained subsidiary passes in general paper and computer studies. This one has the maximum points of 20. The best dyslexic candidate is Akatambira Sifra from Bweranyanji Girls School, who has a BBB in entrepreneurship education, economics, and literature in English respectively, and also scored subsidiary passes in general paper and subsidiary mathematics. Namwaserina Marion from Mbale Progressive Secondary School is the best deaf candidate, who scored a C, E, and C in history, entrepreneurship education, and Christian religious education, respectively, and subsidiary passes in general paper and computer studies. Then Kaira Tesetera from Hilton High School in Mukono is the best physically handicapped candidate, who scored C, A, and C in mathematics, art, and building drawing, respectively, and scored also subsidiary passes in general paper and computer studies. We usually also report on the performance of the inmates in Luzira, but Honorable Minister, this year we did not receive any entry from the prisons. That center did not present any candidates for this exam. Honorable Minister, allow me now to compare the performance of the female and the male candidates, and this is summarized in Table 4. We are comparing 2020, this exam, between the two genders. So again, we have the principal level passes, the number of candidates, and the percentage, and the cumulative numbers, as well as the cumulative percentage. The table indicates that proportionally, Honorable Minister, female candidates, although they are fewer, performed better than their male counterparts did. The percentage passes at the upper levels of 3 principals and 2 principals are higher than those of the males, while the percentage passes at the lower levels and also the failure rate among the female candidates are lower than for the females. This indicates that if you take the percentages, the female candidates outshine the males this particular year. Performance of the candidates in large entry subjects is also compared between 2020 and the previous year, 2019, in table number 5. We have listed general paper, history, economics. Honorable Minister, these are the subjects where you find the overwhelming majority of our candidates, There are, of course, many other subjects, but those attract very, very small candidature. So we have the subject in the first column, the number of candidates who sat for the particular paper, or subject rather, and the percentages that obtained principal pass A, then the percentage of candidates who passed with an E and above, and then the last column is the absolute pass level. That is, we are taking everyone who scored a subsidiary pass at the principal level up to those who got A's. So when you study those figures, the table will show that there is overall improvement in all the subjects apart from literature in English. Although there is a drop in the number of candidates registered this year, entries for the science subjects and mathematics increased significantly compared to the entries for 2019. And Mama, this is pleasing because each year in the past we have been showing that the numbers are registered for the sciences have been remaining very, very low. We are pleased that this year, although we had over 6,000 less candidates, but those that chose those very critical subjects, mathematics and the sciences, actually went up quite significantly. Honorable Minister, we also compare the performance of the males and the females in those same large entry papers. Again, we have the subjects, the number of candidates would have female, those that have passed with a principal pass A, the percentage, and those that have obtained a principal pass E and above. And we compare with the males. So we can see, when you study that table, that in terms of percentages, female candidates performed better than their male counterparts at the principal pass levels, that is A to E, in the arts, all the arts subjects. They were also better than their male counterparts in mathematics and physics, and the male candidates performed better in agriculture, chemistry, biology, art, and general paper. Female entries, however, in the sciences and mathematics have still remained far lower than that of the males. Only 26.7% sat for mathematics of those that registered. 6.9% only of the total number of girls who registered took physics, while 13.2% took chemistry and 12.3% took biology. These numbers are still quite small. Honorable Minister, allow me now to comment on the quality of work of the candidates that are expected at the Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education level. The UACE examination builds on the UCE and is designed to test candidates' ability to comprehend and apply knowledge in novel or new situations, demonstrate logical reasoning skills, ability to perform scientific experiments, interpret those results, and draw conclusions arising therefrom. The questions are also test the candidate's ability to handle higher order tasks such as giving descriptions, explanations, analyzing situations, and evaluation of situations. So the candidates who have scored grades A and B demonstrated high levels of knowledge of the subject matter, and they were able to handle tasks that required high order skills. Their work in the practical examinations also showed ability to manipulate apparatus, ability to record observations correctly, reflecting the accuracy level of the instruments they have used, and the ability to manipulate the data generated correctly. Honorable Minister, candidates who are at the lower level demonstrated adequate to basic mastery of the subject matter. Their performance was undermined by misunderstanding of questions, inability to explain, interpret, offer logical arguments or illustrations, and to give specific examples to qualify their answers. The better answers seen from them were in those parts of the questions that are more direct and requiring more recall. Sad to say that at this level, we even still record some zeros in many of the papers that we offer. In economics and entrepreneurship education, candidates showed lack of knowledge in the very vital concepts of taxation and the stock market. There is evidence that many teachers are either also deficient in these areas or they do not teach the topics due to inadequate syllabus coverage. In the sciences, at this level also, there is evidence of teaching theoretically with very little practical experience given to the candidates. As a result, candidates who performed poorly showed inability to follow instructions and procedures during the practical examinations. They also showed failure to accurately record data or even make meaning of any of the data that they had recorded. They had difficulty in writing correct chemical symbols and balanced equations in chemistry. Whereas the skill of dissection is essential in biology, Honorable Minister, many candidates did not carry out this task on the specimens provided as required by the questions, but proceeded to make crammed drawings that they had crammed from textbooks. This, Honorable Minister, is evidence that teachers in the schools where this happened did not expose the candidates to this very essential skill that will be required in future biological science-based courses at tertiary institutions. Mama, detailed analysis indicating the salient areas of improvement as well as areas of weaknesses will be sent to the centers in our document called Report on the Work of Candidates, and in that document, advice to teachers on how to address areas of difficulty will be given. Electronic version of these reports will be sent through the school's portals so that every school is able to access them. If anyone wants to obtain hard copies of these reports, they will also be available from the UNEB publication sales point, which is located at the Communications House in Kampala, opposite Christ the King Church. Honorable Minister makes some remarks on malpractice and irregularities. I want to note that cases of malpractice at this level have remained quite low. The reported ones have been mainly external assistance given to the candidates in mathematics, biology, and computer studies. So, in accordance with Section 4.3 of the UNEB Act 2021, the board has withheld those results and will accord the affected candidates a fair hearing before a final decision is passed. Ma'am, allow me to express my gratitude. Honorable Minister, I wish to thank you greatly in ensuring that we got the necessary support to successfully complete this activity. Mama, this is an understatement. The conditions under which we process this examination, particularly this UACE, was so difficult that if we did not have your support, probably we were not going to complete the marking. Because at that time the pandemic was at its peak, and many of our activities required contact with many people who were involved, but we did our best, and with your support, as the chairperson said, we are here to tell a beautiful story. I'm equally indebted to the Ministry of Finance and Finance Planning and Economic Development for releasing the funds which we got as a supplementary in time to be able to handle the field conduct and the marking and the final processing of the results of this examination. I wish sincerely to thank the chairperson here present and members of the board for their guidance, the staff of the Ministry of Education and Sports, its agencies and other institutions who assisted UNEB in various ways during the conduct of this examination. I thank all the area supervisors out there, heads of examination centers, the scouts, the invigilators who were in the examination centers overseeing the exercise in accordance with the Ministry of Education and Sports guidelines and the standard operating procedures prescribed by the Ministry of Health. I equally extend my appreciation to the Uganda Police and other security agencies that assisted the board to conduct a smooth examination during this time. I also take this opportunity, Mama, to thank the examiners who cast aside the fear of COVID infection and reported to mark the scripts. And I want to wholeheartedly thank the institutions that allowed UNEB to use their premises as marking centers. We also thank the parents and guardians for their tireless support to the candidates and members of the press and the public who accorded us invaluable vigilance and support during the field conduct of the examination. To the candidates who performed well, I also add my voice to that of the chair to say I congratulate you, and I encourage those whose performance fell below their satisfactory competency levels to try again, as there is always a second chance. I wish especially, Mama, to acknowledge the dedication to duty exhibited by the staff of the UNEB Secretariat. Their commitment and sacrifice amidst the uncertainties and risks occasioned by the pandemic enabled the board to successfully conduct and process the results of this UACE examination. To them, I dedicate this day. Mama, just to remind members of the public who may wish to access the results after you have released them, we shall upload on each center portal, and heads of centers can download the results from their schools. The hard copies of the results and the result slips will be available from UNEB office in Tinda when the situation becomes a bit more favorable. All centers will be informed accordingly. Ma'am, I want to remind our heads of centers, a number of them have not been keen on cross-checking the results of their candidates and sending queries or amendments in time. We advise them to do so and personally submit their queries or amendments to the board electronically through their portals, not later than 15 working days from the release of these results. Any interested persons is free to access these results through SMS, and we have given the way of doing it, and they can use MTN or Airtel networks to access these results. Honorable Minister, thank you so much for listening to me. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit.
Thank you very much, Chair and Executive Director, for giving us what transpired during exams. Mama, First Lady and Honorable Minister of Education, I would like now to request all our participants, those who are physically here and those who are joining us from their homes and offices and cars, to join the Honorable Minister to appreciate God, the Creator and the Sustainer of the universe, for these great results with a big hand clap. Yes, you can continue. But I would also now wish to request all of us again to join hands together to appreciate the board and the executive director and his secretariat and all those who participated in this exercise for the work well done. Thank you very much. Once again, now I would like to request the chairperson of the board to present the results of UACE 2020 for official release to the public, to present them to the minister. Of course, it's going to be different than it has been in the past.
In most cultures in Uganda, rain signifies blessings. The drizzle we have just had signifies God's blessings to the ministry, to UNEB, and to the candidates who sat the 2020 examinations in all the three groups, PLE, UCE, and USE. We thank God for that. Mama, it's now my singular honor to present to you the results of UACE 2020 for release to the public. But unlike during the normal times, this time I'm having to present the results remotely. You already have copies of these results, the hard copy and the electronic copy. Kindly release them remotely. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you very much indeed, Chair, for presenting to us now the results. We are sure they are here with us. I would like to ask now, Mama, that we receive Honorable Jesse Muyingo, who will come over to invite you to address the nation. Honorable.
Thank you very much, Madam MC, the First Lady and Minister of Education and Sports, who happens to be our chief guest this afternoon, my colleagues, the Honorable Ministers of State, the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Education and Sports, the Chairman and members of the Board of UNEB, Executive Secretary. I recognize all the important people in this tent, ladies and gentlemen. Mama, I've been given a very important but a simple task to invite you to address the country over this matter. But allow me to make only two statements. One is a thank you. Mama, I want to begin with you. I want to thank you for finding time to grace this function with your personal presence. Mama, we know how busy you are. The whole of yesterday, you were in meetings from beginning of the day up to the end. And even today, you started with the meetings. And here you are again before us. Mama, I want to thank you. That's why you qualify to be an Olympic gold minister. Mama, we thank you. Mama, as you have been told, this set of examinations was conducted and marked during a very difficult time. That was the time when many Ugandans had all good reasons to absent themselves from duty. But these fellows, the UNEB people, were there for all of us, committedly, dedicatedly, and I want to thank them. Mama, I wish all Ugandans were like these Dans. This Uganda will be very different. We thank you once again. Mama, the release of these results come at a time when the country is still in a partial lockdown and when the countries around the world are still struggling with this pandemic. And the people whose results we are releasing today have a lot of energy to join universities and other tertiary institutions. I strongly feel that universities must embrace blended learning. This time calls for greater need for universities and other institutions to embrace online learning or blended learning. This is where some call it hybrid learning, is where traditional classroom teaching is combined with online teaching or learning and independent studying, which allows the learner to have more control over the time, over the space, even the pace at which he studies and the style of their learning. Much as this move is still a challenge in lower level of education, a good number of universities have embraced the blended learning. National Council for Higher Education has already been guided to approve blended learning. Most of the universities have already been cleared to handle blended learning, much as it is a few who have embraced it. But universities must pay attention to the issue of access to education. We should not leave behind any student who cannot afford this online training. All means should be devised. We should devise ways and means of taking everybody on board. Mama, the second point is about sciences. I'm very happy as a scientist myself that the number of people, students registering to study science is on the increase. I've been following. Mama, but we need more girls to embrace studying sciences. There is a common misconception or belief that females are less able to do sciences compared to males. This is very wrong, Mama, because I've taught ladies, girls who have performed even much better than boys. By the time the children enter kindergarten, some parents expect girls to do better at verbal tasks and the boys to do better at mathematics, just in nursery school. This is also a misconception which we must fight, Ma'am. Girls start failing sciences as early as primary 7, just because they are misled by their parents who tell you, I also failed in sciences, by their peers, and regrettably, Mama, by some teachers, that sciences are too hard for girls. Several girls struggle doing sciences at secondary school level, but a handful of them take it on in higher institutions of learning. We must encourage them to embrace science subjects. By policy, Mama, government allocates most of the government sponsorship slots to science courses at national merit level. This indirectly means that girls have for years been missing out on most of the government sponsorship slots in public universities. This trend is gradually affecting the gender equity in the country and also affects the country's development capacity. We must encourage and support girls to do sciences. It should start in our homes and our societies. It should start from the family. As a government, we are trying to supplement the effort of the parents with better policies, services, and programs which encourage girls to do sciences. That's why, Mama, in my prayer, which everything should be done to encourage girls to do sciences. As more girls are empowered, parents and teachers will see more and more females capable of performing well in sciences. This will lead to more parental and academic support, further enhancing females' ability to do and excel in sciences, just like the male students do. In this way, that cycle will be broken. I've been following and I've talked to some schools. Most private schools claim that the cost of teaching sciences is high. And the likelihood of these students failing sciences is also very high. That's why they ignore and they discourage some others. Most schools, mama, take arts subject to be easier and cheaper to teach. I've never been convinced. Also, some studies have shown that some schools do not take sciences seriously. You see how you look at their laboratories, you look at what they have. Mama, that's why I'm standing here before I invite you to pray that from the families we start encouraging people to become scientists. Mama, with those few remarks, I want to ask you to kindly accept to address your people. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Honorable Mingo, Honorable Ministers of State for Education, PS, and our technical team from the Ministry, the chairperson and team from the Uganda National Examination Board, the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to you all. And today, we release the results of the 2020 Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education examination. This is the third and final set of end-of-cycle examinations administered by UNEB. Now, with today's release, it makes a total of 1,165,024 young people that have completed Primary 7, Senior 4, and Senior 6. It is yet again another occasion to thank God for His faithfulness. We celebrate what our young people have achieved in the face of all gloom and despondency that many of our people were driven into by the pandemic. In addition, we are very grateful that the 2020 UACE examination were conducted smoothly, just like PLE and UCE exams. We know that all this was possible because of the mercies of God, the dedication of UNEB, and the cooperation with various state agencies that always come in to support the sector whenever we are executing such undertakings. Thank you, our frontline people, the teachers, the head teachers, the parents and guardians that have walked this journey with our young people. The 2020 UNEB examinations are a testament to the fact that when we put in effort, one should not be surprised about better performance. In our continuity of learning interventions for the sector, A-level students were not availed the printed home study materials like it were for other classes. Instead, these students had limited in-person attendance of lessons from school and subsequently sitting their final exams. As you have all heard or read, maybe, the 2020 UACE performance was better than the previous cycle of 2019. From the results, you can see that 70% of the candidates in 2020, compared with the 64% in 2019, attained 2 or more principal passes to qualify them for progression for university education. On the other hand, in 2020, less than 1% of candidates, compared with 1.4% in 2019, failed to attain a satisfactory result to qualify them for progression to university or tertiary education. Now this improvement was also seen in the other 2 examinations. For primary 7 and senior 4 previously released, confirms that the fact that our continuity of learning interventions during the period of school closures were really not in vain. Indeed, God continues to do good things for us. I know many people would rather not include God in what they think, but those of us who believe in Him believe that He is still able to do the impossible. So I do thank God that we have had a fair share of very good surprises this season, from better overall performance in academics for our young people who completed their 2020 end-of-cycle exams, as well as those that lifted our national flag high at the recently concluded 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games. Therefore, for me, I must say I'm very happy. And I am thankful to God. There are weaknesses here and there, but we cannot deny that a lot of good has happened also in this very difficult season. I am glad to note that the examination malpractices also have continued to decline. Overall, in PLE, in UCE, and now in UACE, some of you may not have realized that for 3 years in a row, there has not been leakage of examination papers. This is a great step, and I do applaud UNEB for this sustained tightening of the nuts to rid our system of such shameful vices. The figures given by UNEB also indicate an increase in the number of candidates that took sciences in 2020 compared with 2019. Now, this development, as you heard from Honorable Myingo, must be applauded and encouraged. When we have more candidates taking science subjects at this level, then the prospect of taking up the places in the science-based programs at the universities and other tertiary institutions also improve. I do observe that we often present results comparing the performance of girls and boys here and there. How one sex does well and another does badly there, and sometimes magnify the unsatisfactory performance of one over the other. Honestly, we should be fighting against unsatisfactory performance in all its forms, irrespective of whether the learner is a girl or a boy, wherever they are. What worries me is when I hear and read about girls dropping out of school and being married off. To me, this is the real issue that we should boldly confront as a society. To my fellow parents and guardians, we cannot fail to play our part of nurturing our children and then blame it on government for the outcomes. Nurturing children in the home is a responsibility of the parents and guardians, not the state. When our young people are getting married off while still children, it is a sign that the parents or guardians has not fulfilled their role in the upbringing of those children. It may be convenient to blame the state as a scapegoat, but the truth is that parents must play their role. The earlier this truth is realized, the better our society will be. It is for this reason that I must commend those parents whose daughters became pregnant, but their parents committed to return them to school at the earliest opportunity after they delivered the children. That determination gives me the hope that those learners who did not return to school at this level for various reasons will still return to school to continue with their education. I want to encourage them to do so because our education system does offer a second chance to all who want to take that chance. The role of parents and guardians notwithstanding, as I have said before, there are indeed challenges within our education system that can only be addressed as the quality of our teachers improve. I have shared experiences and examples with my technical people of schools that are doing much better because they have invested in the quality of their teachers. In quality, I'm not referring to just attainment of further academic qualifications, but the training of the head, the heart, and hands, as I have said many times before. Therefore, as a sector, we're doing everything possible to develop strategic partnerships with entities that are reputable enough to help us with the training and sharpening the training of our teachers. I congratulate those who have performed well in this examination. While the attraction of university education appears to remain strong, I still want to appeal to our young people to consider taking advantage of the opportunities available in tertiary and vocational institutions. Now, based on the overall performance we just saw, many of you have qualified to join other post-secondary institutions that are not necessarily universities. So you can join teacher training colleges, technical training colleges, health training institutions to pursue diverse career paths. Please interest yourselves in what is offered in our technical and vocational options also. To those who did not achieve as well as expected, I encourage you not to despair and not to give up. There is always another chance. Please explore other pathways that are available in our education system and not just the academic one. And that is not to say that I discourage the academic one, but I'm saying that many who go for these academic qualifications come through the universities and then fail to be employed. That's why I try to encourage our young people also to consider other areas of training which may be easy for employment for themselves and for others. If you keep yourself safe and healthy, you still have time ahead of you to explore many other opportunities in life. In talking about safety, let me continue to remind head teachers, principals, and heads of other education institutions of learning to mobilize your respective teachers, critical non-teaching staff, and learners above 18 years of age to go for their COVID-19 vaccination jab as vaccines become available. I have engaged with the Minister of Health, and she agrees with me that when the next consignment of vaccines arrive, which I believe has happened, vaccination posts shall be extended to schools, to universities, and tertiary institutions. Yes, and we hope that this will reduce the congestion at the current centers where COVID-19 vaccines are being offered. Therefore, I urge our teachers to do this for yourselves, for the children that you teach, and for your families also. The sooner we get many of you vaccinated, the sooner we will reopen our education institutions of learning. I want our media to please take note of this and re-echo what we have said here and help us to mobilize our teachers and our learners above the 18 years old to take seriously the vaccination, because really that will enable us now to open education institutions. As part of our strategy for progression of learners to the next level, the Ministry shall be providing the specific dates for the selection exercise for Senior 1, Senior 5, and first years for universities and tertiary institutions. And please know that we are all concerned about the issue of progression of our learners. We have a clear plan of how the learners in the current classes shall progress to the next level. This will soon be communicated in a separate press release. We envisage the selection exercise for S1, S5, and first years for tertiary institutions to be completed in the period of September and October 2021. However, this does not mean that those selected learners will report to school immediately. The date of reporting will be communicated to the public as part of a revised school calendar once a reopening date has been agreed upon by Cabinet. In the meantime, as we all celebrate and thank God for the good performance of our young people whose results are being released today, please keep observing the basic COVID-19 SOPs of mask wearing, of washing of your hands as often as possible, and social distancing. Strict observance of these SOPs will make us move faster to bringing the spread of COVID-19 under control. So it is in best interest of each one of us to remind one another to observe the basic SOPs for preventing the spread of COVID-19. It is now my pleasure to release the results of the 2020 Uganda Advanced Certificate of Education for public use. And here we are. Here we are. Yes and amen. I thank you all and God bless you. Thank you and thank God for this in this year. Thank you for listening to me.
You lift it a little bit. Thank you very, very much, Mama, for these very great, wise, and motherly words. Can we again appreciate her? What an exciting day that we are closing the third round and we have improved on all the three. We give the glory to God. I would like to inform our viewers and those who will be able to see and listen to this today that what Honorable Muyingo was saying is actually practical and it is possible. Girls can do and excel, as we have seen in today's results in science. And Ma'am, I would like to inform the people that will view and listen to this that our chair of the board, Professor Mary Okwakol, is science-based. I would also like to add, but quietly this time, that even I, Dr. Kedres Triagenda, is science-based. I'm a high school teacher of chemistry and mathematics as the initial training. So it is possible for our girls to actually excel. And so I add my voice to Honorable Myingo's appeal that families and schools and communities should all come together and say, yes, it is possible, and then we shall be there. Thank you very much indeed. We have only three actually, small items on our agenda. We are going to stand and sing the anthems in the reverse as usual. Thereafter, we will have a photo moment for historical reasons and records, and then we will be back here for the media to ask some questions in case they have some. So can I now request all of us to stand for the anthems?
Sky view.
Everything brand new with Orange Sky View.